When I was younger, I did jazz ballet. Now I think about it as though it's ballet's hilarious cousin. You could kind of feel like you're a prima ballerina, even though you're actually just distracting everyone with your jazz hands. That was me, the distracting jazz hands part. I loved it. I was out of time, I was at the back, but that didn't matter because I was living out my 6-year-old wannabe ballerina dreams in that class. This was my teacher's review. I wasn't in it for the form or the fitness, I was in it for the fun and my friends. So when I learnt that I'd have to stay back a grade and it wouldn't be with my mates, I quit. But ever since then, I struggled to find movement opportunities that felt as fun and as freeing as those dance classes. I knew how good moving could feel, but everything I tried just didn't really compare. I tried the gym, but it was intimidating. I tried netball, but I felt so much pressure to win that I'd get angry if we lost. I tried running, bodyweight exercises, but for me it was just boring. Nothing let me move in a way that felt like me. Everything just felt like an opportunity to fail. Except weddings. At weddings. I still can't wait for the couple's dance to be over. I do what I can only describe as lyric dancing, and I'm sure you know what I'm about to demonstrate. It's where we just act out the story of the song. Don't go breaking my heart. I couldn't if I tried. Or turn around, bright eyes. Every now and then I fall apart. It's just, the dance floor is this socially acceptable place to do whatever you want, bust a move however you want, and no one cares. In fact, the weirder, the better. So I loved it. But of course, they were weddings, so the opportunities were few and far between. One day, I was doing burpees at home, and the app I was using told me I had 10 more left to go. I have the biggest high five to anyone who loves a burpee, because I get halfway through my burpee and I want a break. And that's what I was doing. I was taking a break. I put on an 80s playlist to psych myself up for the final 10. I Want to Break Free by Queen came on. Oh, and I thought, yes, I do want to break free. I want to break free from these burpees. Next minute, I had Mum's vacuum cleaner in my hand, and I was Freddie Mercury. I was running up and down the stairs and pose. I'd jump over the couch and pose, because in my fantasy, we were recreating a music video in my parents' hallway, and it was awesome. I even finished those burpees, but that's because mine incorporated a roll and a thrust. I just made them feel a little more like me. Getting out of my head and believing I was Freddie Mercury, just believing I was Freddie Mercury crossed with a bit of Britney Spears, just had me feeling bigger and better than myself, just for a brief moment. It felt good. It reminded me how good moving could be. It reminded me how fun dance was. I was inspired. So I signed up for a dance class, a beginner's ballet class. I'd get fit while doing a spin and a leap and hopefully a pirouette. I was super nervous but excited at our first class, and when we arrived, the teacher reminded us to lower our expectations of what we'd achieve because, of course, ballerinas start from a young age and we were all adults. I'm sure you've gathered by now this was not quite the right class for me. We spent the whole 60 minutes focusing on perfecting the position of our fingers. The teacher kindly tried to assist, but my fingers would not do what they were supposed to do. I was so frustrated. I just wanted to feel good. I'd spend the week doing things wrong. I wanted to feel right. And if this was a beginner's ballet class for adults, and none of us were even going to feel like a ballerina just for that brief moment, then what was the point? So I went home after that class, confused, frustrated. I thought dancing was so much fun as a kid, but that wasn't enough. And even at this beginner's class for adults, I just felt like I was 6 years old, failing my exams again. I thought, this sucks. Dancing is so much fun until someone puts some rules around it. And at home, there was another problem. I was running out of moves because you can only pretend that you're Freddie Mercury for so long until you realize you're just pretending you're Freddie Mercury on your own. Fortunately, I discovered a couple of my friends had also been looking for a dance class that wouldn't take us so seriously. There was me, a failed jazz balletist, Lisa, a mediocre rhythmic gymnast, her words, she was awesome, and Claire, a dance graduate, someone who actually cut the mustard in terms of dance, but she gave up on the idea of a professional career when she realized she'd also have to give up bread. So together, the three of us talked about how fun it would be if there was a dance class that focused on how we felt instead of how we looked. We couldn't find one, so we started our own. And what we lacked for in form and technique, we made up for in feelings. Feeling fabulous like Freddie, or fierce like Beyonce, and even weird like Austin Powers. All feelings were feelings we wanted to validate. And unlike all my experience with dance, there was no theory to fail. We took away the mirrors and instantly shifted the focus from form to feeling. It was awesome. For me, it was revolutionary. This thing that originally started as actually a selfish opportunity for the three of us to dance without the fear of judgment, to dance without the pressure of being right, to just spend time together during our somewhat stressful weeks, suddenly became something that so many other people desperately needed. I had no idea that breaking the rules of dance would be so necessary, because at least once a week over the last 6 years, I've had someone come to me to say, I love dance, I want to dance, but I'm clumsy, I'm uncoordinated, I have no rhythm, I have anxiety around dance, I can't dance. And we know why we might feel this way, because if we're not comparing ourselves to the inner child that expressed themselves once and was told, oop, not quite good enough, then we are comparing ourselves to an overwhelming amount of media that tells us that connecting with your body is connecting with how it looks and not how it feels. We give ourselves so few opportunities to dance. So, of course, there's a world of people out there who look at what dancers look like and think, well, I can't replicate that, therefore I can't dance. Of course there's a world of people out there with anxiety who choose to not dance. But dance is so much more than the rules and the structures that define its styles. Dance is you. Dance is us. Dance started as us. Dance started as a tool for survival, for communication, for celebration, for change. Dance is humanity. It's always been about our expression of ourselves. I still find myself on the dance floor at a wedding, anywhere. My mind takes over. It thinks, do I look relaxed? Do I look like I'm having fun? because it's hard. It's hard to dance without worrying what other people think. It's hard to dance without fear of judgment. It takes vulnerability. It takes practice. I've been practicing validating my moves based on how they feel for a long time, and it's hard. But I want you to know, when you can move for how good it feels to you and it's not about how it looks, you will break free. And there will be no such thing as clumsy, no such thing as failure, no such thing as, I love dance, but. I've been studying New Zealand Sign Language and I love it. Probably because it's like a dance for the fingers and I clearly cannot get enough. In our first class, our teacher Amber was showing us the signs for activities and how to express things that we loved. So I said, I love dance. Amber said, cool, I love music. I looked at Amber, confused, because she was deaf. How could she hear music? A year or so later, I went to a party with her and there were fairy lights and an acoustic guitar and a solo singer. And as the songs changed, so did the energy of everyone else in the room. And everyone else was mostly deaf. Everyone else was dancing in a way that I'd never understand. I realized I'd still made an assumption about what it means to dance. So if you think you can't dance or you don't give yourself the opportunity to and you want to, I would just ask, have you let someone else's idea of dance define your own? After practicing, validating my moves based on how they feel, I want to share a few things in the hopes that maybe you'll be able to reclaim what dance means to you, or perhaps just find ways to move that feel more like you. Firstly, dance is a language. I like to think about my moves like they're a bunch of sentences and I'm the grammar, and there's no grammar police. I can just put an apostrophe there, a phrase there, an exclamation mark there, another one, as many as I want. There doesn't have to be any consequences. When you really boil down dance for what it is and you see it's a language we share with every human in this room and every human on this planet, you see that you are a dancer. We're all dancers. Dance is a choice. There doesn't have to be any wrong. There doesn't have to be any right. There's just being. 2, dance is acceptance. Ever since I expressed myself as a 6-year-old and was told that wasn't quite good enough, I would subconsciously go on to believe that I'd have to work hard for that kind of fun, for that kind of freedom, for that kind of celebration of myself. But dance has actually taught me the opposite. Dance for me has been less about learning new moves and more about unlearning other people's expectations of how the move should be, unlearning other people's expectations of who I should be. Dance has been about accepting myself for cutting shapes instead of cutting mustard. 3, dance is a superpower. I always thought that being a dancer and being clumsy were 2 different people. But the people in our dance community have shown me that they're not. My favourite comedian, Amy Poehler, says, if you can dance and be free and not be embarrassed, you can rule the world. The people in our community continue to choose joy for themselves. They continue to choose being unapologetically themselves. And in doing that, they don't just empower themselves. They empower everyone around them to live the fullest expression of those people too. That's a superpower. And we all have access to it. And it's free. Unfortunately, and there's always a but, there's a global trend that we also see very strongly here in New Zealand among young people, particularly young women who stop engaging in physical activity from as early as the age of 10 because the movement opportunities available are competitive, they're boring, there's fear of judgment, there's fear of failure. It's hard. I was one of those young people. Maybe you were too. Denied the opportunity to do that thing that you love because you just didn't meet someone else's standard. But I'm glad we didn't care and just did it anyway. Because now I'm here, able to share with you my message. What if you shut up that voice inside your head that told you you're not good enough and you just did it anyway?